PM versus vendor. Team play for success.
I'm Gabriela Coahla and I have been a certified bilingual translator English to French and Romanian since 2010. I consider myself a beyond words vendor and I love being close to my PMs.
I'm Lucia Gutierrez, a localization project manager with almost 10 years of experience. I have worked in many different LSPs with many different hats, but always focusing on project management, as it is the job I enjoy the most.
Hello everyone. Hello Lucia.
Hi Gabriela. Hello everyone.
Yes, we are back with another episode, hot one because it's getting a bit chilly outside. And I think many of my colleagues and even your colleagues, Lucia, will like it. We love this episode because it's a hot topic. I don't know if that's your opinion.
Yeah, it's a really hot topic for both, for everyone, for vendors, for project managers, for vendor managers, who are like really the bosses in this topic. And we are going to talk about, is it always a native speaker needed to do a translation, or not really, just a bilingual person would do the same work as good? Or what do you think? Let's discuss all this.
Yeah, before digging in and maybe saying something from my personal experience, I want to share with you something I read, I think 1 year ago, and it really stuck with me. On a forum, on a Slack channel, actually, someone told us that in technical content, manuals, content that is for factories, for example, for really, really technical content, many LSPs or many clients prefer, for example, they need to translate for English to French. They prefer translate with English, let's say American English to French from France. They prefer to have the text translated by an American translator because they understand the source, the technical source, and have it revised by a French reviser translator. Because in that case, in that technical case, they are sure that the translator really understands the technical words, so the source, and they want to just check it by the French translator for grammar, if there are natural words, etc. So in this case, that's when I read this story from the colleague, it stuck with me because there is in this topic there is not a black and white reply. I think there is much more about that, and I don't know, what do you think about this? And then I will share with you some personal things.
Yeah, because I believe you will have a lot to say about this. But yeah, what you say it is really true. I've worked with a number of companies that they used to claim that they only work with native speakers as translators. However, I think that that's an old concept that we need to start dismissing. With globalization, things have changed and the world is evolving. And I believe that native speakers are important, but you also need the skills of a bilingual translator in some other instances, like the one that you said, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's an old idea that translators need to be native speakers, and we need to go through that. The paradigms are changing, and we need to evolve with them.
Yeah. And my own perspective changed a lot over the years. So before leaving Romania, for example, yes, I grew up in a bilingual household. I was like prepared for working with two target languages, French and Romanian, and I knew that I was going to do that. I'm very keen on mindset, and I think I had that mindset from high school. I know that one day I will work with those target languages. I knew that because I was prepared for that. Okay. When I left Romania and I went to France, it was a different story because my passport at the beginning was Romanian. So I should stick to the Romanian side. And I have the background, the personal background, I have the study background. So of course I continue working and studying in France and accumulate experience. And it was okay. With years, with experience, there were no more issues. But then I had kids, and the kids started not growing up not in a bilingual household as myself, but in a trilingual household. And when I had LSPs, I had LSPs and clients who are understanding the bilingual concept. Until today, I didn't find one that understands the trilingual concepts, because when my kids will be, I don't know, 20, maybe they will want to do translation or interpretations, and someone will ask them their native language. And my question is, which native language? Because they have been living in a trilingual household. Which native language? While we are still struggling with bilingual people, there are a lot of trilingual children nowadays. And as you said, with globalization, that changes a lot. And I think it also reflects in our industry. So are we now in 2025 prepared to the bilingual translators? Because sometimes I feel we are still not prepared. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, to me, the how do I say it? The concept of native language is in which language you are more up to date. Because, I've been living outside of Spain for many, many years. And then when I used to come back to Spain to visit my family and my friends, there were some concepts, there were some expressions that I couldn't understand. Why? Because I wasn't living in the society in that day. So there were some modern expressions or some new concepts that were appearing in Spain while I was living abroad that I was missing. So in that case, am I a native speaker of Spanish? Yeah, I am. Am I prepared to translate? So, for example, some multimedia assets into Spanish? Maybe not that much, because I'm not that up to date with the language. So to me, that's the most important thing. You can live abroad and you can, for example, watch a lot of TV in your native language and talk daily with your friends and family and still be really connected to that part of you. In that case, you wouldn't have any consequences because you are really like up to date with the language. But if you do a total disconnect and you go to a different culture and you forget about you don't forget, but you are not that in touch with your own culture, then that might be a problem when you translate some kind of content. Not every content, but some kind, yes. So to me, that's the important thing.
So it begs the question, should we think beyond the beyond the target language requested by the project? Maybe we will need to think about where the translation or the localization will go, which audience will touch. For example, if you are asking for a translation that will be used in UK, for example, a French translation used in UK, maybe it will be good to have it translated by a French translator, but maybe revised by a bilingual French-English UK translator, because they will know if that French translation will be accurate, but also localized for the French community in UK. No? I don't know if it's logical what I'm saying, but
it's totally logical. Imagine there is a new form of Spanish that it's been created because of the necessity, really, and that is the US Spanish.
Oh, okay.
Now, you will ask, is Spanish an official language in the US? No, it's not. But since there is a huge community of Spanish speakers living in the US, there is already a variant of Spanish of all the people that are living there. So there are some clients that come to you and they say, I need this in US Spanish. So in that case, what do you do? Because
You need someone to understand.
US Spanish speakers are born in the US, therefore they are native of English and Spanish. So they are none. They are bilinguals.
Yeah. It's like you ask, they need French, but not for France. They need French for Canada. If you agree to work with a French living in France, it will not work. I am against, and I always say that, and I always recommend French colleagues living in Canada. There are some different words, and not only that, but different mentality. Even how they buy, how they use localized CTAs buttons. It's different from France. And I will tell you also another thing. When I receive a request for website translation into French, I ask, is it only for France or is it for all French speaking countries near France? Because people forget that we have a big French speaking community in Africa, and they are using French, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, they are using the standard French as in France, but in other African countries, the French is a bit mixed with the local language or languages or dialects, because there are a lot of dialects in Africa. So we need to think about that target, beyond that target language, okay? Especially in localization. If it's translation, general translation, okay. But if you are talking about localization, it's about people. It's about people. It's about, and that starts with the translator. You know that localization is something I'm doing every single day in my personal life. When I speak to my father-in-law, he's Algerian. I have a way of speaking. When I'm speaking to my dad, he's 100% Romanian, I have another way of speaking. When I'm speaking with my neighbor in Saint Etienne, I have another way of speaking. That is localization, because localization is about people. So passport or portfolio in localization, it's not about the target. It's about the people, and it starts with the linguists. I don't know. Sorry, I'm so passionate about this project. This subject.
No, but I think it's also about the purpose. So, for example, I'm thinking, if you get a request from the UK government and they say, okay, we need these French policies translated into plain English.
Okay.
Because that's plain English is something that the UK government loves. And I get it and I share it and I thank them for that. So then you start thinking like, okay, plain English. Maybe a foreigner who is a bilingual translator can do a better plain English than an UK translator. Why? Because they've learned plain English and plain English is intended to them. So
the people.
In this case, maybe it's a better idea to have the text translated by a native translator and then reviewed by a bilingual. Then I can give you the opposite example. Okay, we can get a text translated by a bilingual translator, for example, for a marketing campaign. Okay, but then I would like a native translator to take a look at the translation and do either a review or a proofreading of the target to give it the final touch so that it attracts the customers based in that country.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the project that you've got and the purpose of that project that you will get a native or a bilingual translator, because both of them have some valuable skill sets that are different for different purposes.
Yeah. It's also about accessibility. You know that sometimes LSPs or clients, direct clients, they focus on the target of that country. But as you said, we are riding a very big wave of globalization. I think we have foreigners, immigrants in all the countries, even in Africa, even in Europe, even in US, everywhere we have. So I think that the content we are translating or localizing, it has to be accessible to everyone. For example, you want to use French or Romanian, okay, but you should not only localize it for the common, how can I say, not, the native pure Romanian person. Maybe you should localize it in a correct plain Romanian language that can also be understood by people who are new to that country and are learning Romanian or are trying to integrate to the society of that country. Maybe, and I'm speaking again about content, I don't know, marketing content, product description, brochures for schools, brochures for, as you said, government. Maybe use, have two types of pairs, of eye pairs. For example, a native 100%, but maybe also someone who is bilingual, just to have that touch of accessibility, that touch they feel everyone is feeling welcome, because maybe an 100% native person will not see things that a bilingual person will see.
Exactly. And as you were saying that, I was thinking, like, for example, if I get a brochure of prenatal things, then most likely I would like to get a mother to translate that content. Why? Because they are more used to that type of content, regardless of where they are based, regardless of their target language. Well, no, not regardless of the target language, but either if they are native or bilingual. To me, in this case, being a mom would count more.
Yeah. And if we work with two linguists, so one translator, one editor, I think I think the text will be even better than if you have, okay, one person, because one person can be have a BS version, but when you have two and you mix their skills and sometimes their personal skills, we talked about that in one episode, that sometimes our personal skills can improve our professional skills. I don't know. I think it's even better. So it's not black and white. That's my conclusion to this episode. It's not black and white when it comes to bilingual, native. I think it's per project, per content, and for the people.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. I have to say I'm more inclined, because I'm trying to change my mindset, but it's work in progress. I'm more inclined to work with people who are based in the country. So if the translation is intended for France, then I would be more inclined to work with people who are based in France. But deep down, when I analyze it, I know it's not true. So it's work in progress. I'm starting to change on those things because I think it's important, and that will give more inclusivity to people living in some other countries where they have less needs of translation, and there are more needs of the same language in other countries. For example, I'm thinking of African countries.
Exactly.
So yeah, I just want to wrap it up and just say that you need to think about the purpose and the project and not the passport or the portfolio.
Exactly. And maybe in one feature, we will talk about also age categories, because sometimes you ask to translate in a Targu language, and the native person will, as you said, will translate for general, but maybe the content is for teenagers. And we, in France, for example, we have a different French for teenagers. So it depends. But it will be for another episode, and keep watching or listening to. And any feedback, let us know.
Just let us know. Have you ever been excluded from a project because you weren't a native speaker or because you weren't based in the country? Just let us know. Let us know if you think we are right or if we are totally wrong. Maybe we are talking BS and we don't know it. So just let us know.
Till next time. Thank you, Lucia, and see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
What you've heard are just our personal opinions. We by no means intend to impose our personal views on anyone. Feel free to disagree, throw tomatoes at us, or just drop a comment to let us know. Thank you!